Yesterday, we began discussing the last portion of the Amidah, which is offering thanks to God. When a person is thankful and you express your thankfulness and your beholdingness and why you are indebted, what's the first thing you speak about? What you value to the greatest degree? I'll give you an example. A person underwrites your life, your education, your residence, your clothing, your food. And the person also happened to say good morning to you. When you express your thankfulness to the person, he says, I thank you that every morning you make me feel like $1 million. You said good morning to me. Or does the person say, I thank you for my whole life, because if not for you, I would not even be alive, and I would never have succeeded. And the sense of self, it's only because of you. So of course you speak about the most impactful, valuable contribution that person provided for your life. That's what you speak about. We're giving thanks to God for multiple things. God performed miracles. God took us out of Egypt, gave us the land of Israel, did many things. What's first and foremost? First and foremost, you, the Almighty, you are our God. You chose us to be your people. That's first and foremost. It's not our health. It's not our wealth. It's not our safety. It's not our share in the world to come even. Everything pales to you choosing to be our God. You, the Almighty, the creative existence. We express our thankfulness. Shatohu Hashem Elokeinu. We not only we acknowledge you, you're the Almighty and the Creator, Hashem Elokeinu, Ve'elokei Avoseinu, and the Almighty of our forefathers, Olam Voed. And this relationship that you chose up is eternal, never to be abrogated, never to be terminated, forever, because that's the ultimate. That's first and foremost. We find something very interesting. Avram Avinu was told that Lech Lecha Me'artzo, he's in Ur Kasdim. God appears to him and says, leave your land. Leave your birthplace, leave your family, and go to the land that I will show you. And it's important for you to go because it's in your best interest. Lech lecha, go for yourself. You'll be the beneficiary if you meet the challenge. And in what areas will be the beneficiary? You will, right now, you have no renown whatsoever. Nobody even knows who you are. You're a pariah. There you'll have renown. There you will have children. Today you have no children. There you will have great wealth. Therefore, that is the incentive to leave this forsaken place and go there. Avram goes to Canaan, and God appears to him. And he tells him in this prophecy, this prophetic communication, it says, God appears to him, and he says, I will give to you this land and to your children after you. That's the communication when he arrives there. Then the Torah tells us, Vayiven, after he finishes this, receiving this communication, says, Vayiven Mizbeach Lashem Hanira Elov. He built an altar for God who appeared to him. So Rashi in his commentary explains, what did he build? It doesn't say he brought a sacrifice on the altar, but it was building a monument to memorialize what happened. What happened? God said the land is going to be his. God says he's going to have children. God said he had wealth, meaning everything that God said was going to happen, it already was communicated that it's happening. So to offer his thanks to God, to memorialize the moment, he built that altar. Va'ivin mizbeach Lashem hanira elov. The God who appeared to him. So Rashi says, who appeared to him and communicated him all these facts. The Rechaim HaKadosh says differently. Although he had no children, although he had no renown, although he had nothing, and he was a pariah, he built that altar to memorialize that God appeared to him. Everything else paled. It didn't even resonate. God appearing to him, that itself was the ultimate level. He built it Lashem Anir Elov. It's to memorialize that, not memorialize he's going to have children, that he has the land. None of that. That God appeared to me. That's all that makes a difference. Everything else is secondary or non-existent compared to that. And that's what we're saying here. God does endless things on our behalf, miraculous, wonders, turns the world upside down. But that's all meaningless to the fact that you, the Almighty, have chosen us to be personalized with us, that we have this intimate relationship, ourselves and our forefathers, to be never to be terminated, can never be revoked. It's the same idea. It's like I always say, we read in the Mishnah that on Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, there were 5 tragedies throughout history that took place, the most extreme level of tragedy. And the Mishnah delineates the tragedies, these tragic events, all taking place on the exact same day. The first tragedy that took place, that when the spies came back after scouting out the land, they came out with ominous reports. And God decreed that for the next 40 years, this generation will not enter into the promised land. They will die over a 40-year period. That's the first thing. The next 2 tragedies took place. The first and second temple were destroyed on that same day, the 9th of Av. The 4th tragedy took place in the time of the Romans. There was a significant number of Jews that survived the destruction of the Second Temple. Over 1 million Jews. It was called Beitar. And they went and rebelled against the Roman government. And the Roman government murdered all of them. And that was the last level of representation in the land of Israel. And the few that were left were driven into exile. It's tragic, monumental tragedy. Number-wise, representation-wise. The 5th tragedy is that they plowed under Yerushalayim. That there should not be a trace of the history of the Jewish people. That's the 5th tragedy. So I asked, the first 4 we understand to be the most tragic. Destruction of first, second temple, the generation that stood at Sinai, they're never going to merit to go into the land of Canaan, to see the land. They will all perish. We understand murdering 1 million Jews and driving the remnant into exile. Tragic. But plowing under Jerusalem after everything is said and done, and all you have is broken shards of pottery, and you go and you plow it under, that there should not be a trace of the history of the Jews. How's that tragic? How do you even say it within the same breath? That's the question we asked. So what I said was the Romans were ingenious. You know, there's always a possibility of recovery. I destroy your temple, there was a first temple, there was a second temple. You destroy the second temple, there's a stronghold of Jews, 1 million Jews in Beitar. You destroy them, there are remnants. The remnants could always recover and recreate and rebuild the core and expand. But how do you build it? How do you recover and build the core? It's only if you know who you are. But if you destroy the history of a people and they have no way even to know who they are, you know what happens? Just a question of time before you disappear. You assimilate and you disappear. So the fifth tragedy, in a certain way, was greater than all, because the first were only incidental for those groups of people. The fifth, that puts the lid on the coffin, never to recover. That's the fifth. That's the ultimate. Therefore, it's equated with the first four. That's the fifth. It has the same dimension of tragedy which took place on that day. What is the objective of Avram's, his whole life? To have a relation with God. The children are only the means through which to perpetuate who I am. The land is the location of the service. But what's it all about? God appears to you. That you've achieved a level of perfection within yourself, that God is interested in having a relationship with you. Therefore, when he built the altar, it was Lashem Anir Elov, to memorialize the fact that God appeared to him. That was the ultimate level. We give thanks. We're safe, we're intelligent, we advance, we have success, we have miracles, we have wonders. God split the sea for us. But that's not the ultimate. The ultimate is Atu Hashem Elokeinu. At Sinai, what did God do for us? He took us to be his people. God says, you are my holy people, princely people, forever. There are no intermediaries between us. I, the creator, am choosing you to be my people, to me, my glory. What about everything else? Our health, our safety, our successes. We do mitzvahs. These are all incidentals. The first and foremost, I thank you. You've chosen us. You are our God. Atu Hashem Elokeinu. L'olam v'ed. Forever. Everything else pales to that. And that's why that's mentioned first. Now, we conclude the morning service and every service 3 times a day with a prayer called Aleinu L'Shabeach, Ladon HaKol. Aleinu L'Shabeach, we give thanks. It's incumbent upon us, L'Shabeach, to give praise, Ladon HaKol, to the master of everything, to God. What are we giving thanks for? Shalosonu Kagoya Rotzos. You didn't make us like the nations of the world, of all the lands. Los Samonu Kimishchus Adoma, and you did not place us like the families of the earth. Los Sam Chelkenu Kaim, and our lot is not like theirs. What is their lot? Shemishtachvim lehevel v'rik le'elu. They bow and they worship and serve deities which are worthless. And who do we bow to? We bow and give homage to God, the master of all, who's the King of kings, who created this world, to the creator. So what's the first and foremost thank you? Our financial status, our recognition status, our security status, that Israel is the high-tech capital of the world. Is that what we're giving thanks to? That our lot is not their lot. Our lot is your lot. Our lot is God's lot. That's what we're giving thanks for. Everything else is meaningless. That's what it's all about. You know, it's very interesting. You think about this. And person, of course, wants to succeed in life. We educate ourselves. We work. We build. And if we merit, we have great successes, material successes. But ultimately, you succeeded tremendously, materially speaking. And you're a good person. At the end of the day, when checkout time comes and you leave this world and you leave all this wealth to your children, to your family, to your friends, and you know you're going to leave it. And where are you going? And we're talking about personal beliefs that there's an afterlife when you leave this world. And the afterlife is going to be determined to what degree did you succeed in the material life when you were alive. You know that. So if that is ultimately the objective, to arrive at a location to be a beneficiary of your lifetime's accomplishments, so where do you think you should put your eggs, in what kind of basket? The basket that has relevance to that objective, correct? But yet people, they work today like there's no tomorrow. They invest their lives in a way where it's like they're making the first dollar. But that's reality. And you think about it. And a person says, you know something? It doesn't make sense. But we all have blind spots and we get deluded. And that's why we do this. Years ago, if you went to a barbershop, the barber usually had, those years, you were able to get a haircut for 90 cents. I'm talking in the 50s. And the barber, he had his certificate that he was allowed to practice being a barber. And next to that certificate he had, which had a serial number on it, from the state of New York, that he graduated barber school, he had a frame with the first dollar he made. And that was on the wall in the barbershop. You understand? It's just the first dollar. It's good, because he wants to remember his humble beginnings. Since then, he has 6 barber chairs with other barbers working for him. That's a success. Some people, every dollar they earn, it's like that first dollar. They live like there's no tomorrow. Every day is the ultimate. And this expression, unfortunately, they will kill for a dollar. Literally. Some people are so, I don't want to use the word even greedy. It's not even greed. It's like fully invested in that. But when we say modem every day, even though unfortunately people behave that way, when we say in the modem, if you focus on it, we give thanks to you, Shato Hashem Elokeinu, that you are our Almighty and the Almighty of our forefathers, L'olam Voed, Tzur Chayenu. You are the rock of our lives. You're the core of our lives. We say this. Even though the moment we walk out of shul, it's like we have amnesia. It's like we forgot we even said it. But at least we say it. And if you have some level of focus, it's invaluable. Because you're stating who you are and what's primary to you. That's what you're saying. Hopefully, if you focus sufficiently and you accommodate and you feed that, it'll start resonating within you and it will express itself through your daily activity outside of the synagogue, even after the prayer service is over, finished. What's the objective? Why do I want to succeed? What do I want to be that model of what a Jew is supposed to be for other people to see? To be an influence, to create an environment of godliness outside the synagogue. A Jew is a Jew 24 hours a day. And whatever you are in the synagogue, although you don't pray outside the synagogue, you do other things, but in terms of your level of innate value, your representation of what you represent should be displayed continuously, whether it's through your ethics, through your morals, through your speech, through your refinement. It has to be continuous. You know why? Because Atohu Shem Elokeinu. Because if the Jew misbehaves, you know what it's called? It's called a desecration of God's name. It's a Chil Hashem. Because if you're God's so-called favorite son, how do you behave this way? So, but if you appreciate who you are, a prince doesn't behave like a commoner. So if we recognize and appreciate who we are, you always have to behave above reproach. To be able to provide that Kiddush Hashem, always to sanctify God's name, to behave in a way which other people don't behave, in the positive context. That's the modim. That's the thanks. We give thanks. Why? That you did not make us like others. Our lot is like others. Our lot is with you. What's you? We've been displaced, exile, persecuted, pogroms, Holocaust, over our heads, we still give thanks. Because we recognize, God forbid, if a person has an illness and he has to undergo therapies which are very painful, and the doctor doesn't leave a stone unturned, and the specialist to be able to rehabilitate you, to bring you back to your original health, as painful as it is, you're thankful and you thank God that you have that medical care. Because without that, there's nothing to talk about. We've been through experiences in life and history. No nation, no civilization has undergone what we've gone through. But why? You want to use a word which you have to understand. It's called tough love. You know? But it means truly. As Moshe says to the Jewish people, Kasher yase ishis beno, kein Hashem elokechem yasreko. As a parent, a father disciplines his child. When he disciplines, it's not to hurt the child. It's only to bring the child to a point of understanding of where he should be and where he should not be. Kein Hashem elokechem yasreko. That's the way God disciplines us. All what we've been through throughout history are disciplinary measures to be able to rehabilitate us, to put us on the straight and narrow path, to ultimately merit and develop into who we should be. That's what it's all about. And we say, despite that, you know, it was interesting when the Jews were in the concentration camps. So the Nazis, Yimach Shemam, what they did was they took an embroidered piece of cloth that they took out of a synagogue. You know, in Hallel we say, this is the gate for God, that the tzaddikim passed through this gate. You know what they did? They put it over the gas chamber. And the Jews, when they went into the gas chamber, say, yeah, this is the gate for God. That's where you're all going. You're all going to your death. And they mocked them, deprecated them, they cursed them, and they laughed. When they were going to the death to be exterminated, men, women, and children. And it was a joke. But do you know how many people, they went into those gas chambers singing Ani Mamin? We believe with absolute faith. Despite that, it's insanity. How do you do that? Because the Jew understands this is purely an incidental. The physical is that's not what it's all about. When a Jew dies to sanctify God's name, you know you're dying. But God says if it's the sake of sanctification, it's worth more than anything in your life. Because ultimately, God is the creator. The payback will be beyond anything which you can imagine. It's unfathomable. So the Jews could go into the concentration camp. In the concentration camp, they conducted a Seder with morsels of nothing to commemorate the redemption in Egypt. We're free people. Free. You're living 20 people on a slab of wood, literally being suffocated in squalor beyond our imagination what this is. Not, God forbid, we should even be exposed to that. But they're celebrating the Seder. And if they had the shofar, they blew the shofar at the risk of being killed. Because if they caught, they would be killed by the Nazis. What is it all about? Because the core of these people was they believed in God and they understood everything in life is purely incidental. And it has a purpose. And we don't second guess God. We accept it. You're the rock of our being. That's our core. God is our core. And if you are able to internalize that reality, we always say, Adi Mamen Be'emunah Shleima. We always say that. We're always able to celebrate and commemorate the redemption of Egypt and to blow the horn on Rosh Hashanah to silence the prosecution of Satan. It's not contradictory. The world may see it as insanity, but if you have that clear lens and you see it as you should see it, that's what it's all about. And that's success, and that's the true hero, which merits the ultimate and the infinite. We're going to stop here.